Hello, dear participants, and welcome to our webinar. So to check our sound, please type in the chat box if you can see and hear me well. Yeah, please, if you can hear me, please type yes or plus, please. So I know you can hear me okay. All right, I'm getting some pluses and yeses. So thank you, everybody. Thank you for spending your Saturday morning with us today. And our topic is media literacy in English language teaching and learning. So why did I decide to create this presentation? Because I think the concept of digital literacy and media literacy is very, very important today, not just for English lessons, but for other lessons as well. And in general, even for people of Ukraine in general, that's quite important. But maybe as English teachers, we often ask ourselves, how should we as teachers handle media literacy at our lessons? So during this presentation today, I will try to give you some practical ideas, examples of activities that you can use. So the most important message that I want to share with you today is that media literacy, just like a regular literacy, it's an ability to read and write. But here we are talking about special messages or media messages. So once you were teaching your students to read and write in English, now they hopefully can do it very well. So now they need to learn how to read and analyze media messages and also how to create their own messages. In general, media is anything, any kind of communication channel that you use to share and store information. What is interesting if we compare these two types of media is that social media is more interactive. So with social media, you are able to create your own messages and share it very quickly. And with traditional media, of course, it's more passive. Yes, we are just watching TV, for example, or reading a newspaper. Not all of us can write articles or shoot videos and broadcast it for a large audience. I want to have a little survey, and I want to learn about you. How much time do you spend with media every day? So you have three options. Option A, around 12 hours per day, B, around 10 hours, or C, less than 10 hours. So please, in the chat box, type your answer, okay? So think about all the media that you are using. Internet, television, newspapers, every day. How much time do you spend with media? Please type your answer in the chat. Okay, thank you. I see the answers. So far, I believe most of you chose C and B, right? Yeah, no A's? No media fans here? Okay, but still, if you think about it, even if you chose answer C, that's still a lot. So I was trying to find some statistics about Ukraine, how much time do people spend online and in general on media. I couldn't do that, but here is the recent statistics from the USA. So if you look at this slide, you see that the total amount of hours per day per person from America, it's 12 hours actually, right? So quite a lot. Okay, so here's a little agenda for today. Sometimes I'm thinking that nowadays, because of the social media and its development, my students know more about social media than I do. Probably you get the same feeling. So then, of course, again, we are speaking about the time we spend on media in general. And I'm not sure how exact the statistics is, but I found this interesting number that the average person spends around 1/3 of his or her time consuming media. And pay attention to this funny cartoon. If we are not media literate, we may all turn into this old man who is sitting and passively just accepting the information. So because we want to be media literate, we don't want to be like him, of course. Then media has influence on our lives, and you can feel this influence everywhere. Think, for example, about the concept of the mean wealth syndrome. I don't know if you've heard about it, but sometimes when you watch some depressing, sad news on TV, after watching this news, you get a feeling that maybe the whole world is such a dark and dangerous place to live in, right? So it influences how you think. Then also think about advertising, right? Every day we see, hear, watch thousands of advertising messages, and they also influence our consuming habits. So the influence of media is quite big. Then another factor is that it's important about media is that it also represents our values. We can understand more about the society we live in and how we view ourselves and other people. In this case, you can think about, for example, the representation of an ideal woman and an ideal man in modern world. So the next slide, and a rather funny one, I think, is related to the well-known Shakespeare. So if he was alive today, probably that would be the question for him, not to be or not to be, but to post or not to post. And here we are coming to the issue of using Facebook, right, or other social media. Little question for all of you. What was your recent Facebook post or story about? Please, if you can share in general, in one sentence, what was it about? What did you write about? I can share about myself that I was, my post was related to our webinar today, of course. I wanted to share it with my friends, to invite more people to attend it. But now I want to know, what are you writing about on your Facebook? Okay, and I see the first answers to my questions. So, motivator about positive thinking. Alina, thank you. Then Hannah wrote, it was a legend about angels. Okay, very interesting. Useful links for my job. Nice. Okay, just posted the worksheets. Well, thank you for sharing. Now I will try to go back to my presentation. And I want to share an example of one Facebook story that I got, well, I think it was last year. So the question to all of you, study this slide closely, read the message, look at the pictures, and think about this message. Is this story share-worthy? Imagine you are a Facebook user. This is what you see on your page. Yeah? Would you share it with your friends or not? Please type in the chat box. Look at the pictures, study the text, and write your answer. Okay, I see the fast answer. So Oksana wrote, I don't think so. Other people? No, no. All right. Okay, lots of no's. So nobody would share it, right? Okay. So of course, many of you know this actor, right? He's a famous one, Sylvester Stallone. So this was a real message reposted by one of my friends on Facebook. And if we analyze it, of course, the first thing I recommend to do is to go to the author of the post. Yes, if you research this author, you will find that either his profile doesn't exist at all, or he's just reposting different kinds of sensational news. So that would be the first sign that this is perhaps a fake news. You can also pay attention to the caps locks used, and also the author here tries to appeal to our emotions, right? So this actor is very famous, probably has lots of fans, so they all will be very sad. Yeah, this is a shocking news, so they want to share it right away, this type of message. And I would like to say that this is a very popular piece of news, so-called news, that are spread online, so always think before you share. That's always a good idea. In the modern times, when we are thinking that we live in the world of social media, you can spread fake news very easily. So please don't turn into gentlemen who are on this slide. Yeah, so don't continue to spread fake news. Here is another nice diagram or infographics that I encourage you to use with your students. For example, you can study this post that I just shared with you, or any other post that you want from Facebook, right? And go through this diagram. Yes, start asking the question. Start from here, ask, is it real? Yes or no? And you can follow this diagram, and then at the end, it will tell you, yes, this story is share-worthy, or maybe it's share-worthy, or probably not share-worthy. Very, very nice diagram. You can choose the combination of both real news and fake news, and teach your students to go through this diagram or go together in groups or however you want to do this. Now, another important factor to remember about media is that, of course, it's related to making money. Some media are state-owned, but the majority of them are privately owned. There is information about media ownership in the United States. So you can see that the 6 major corporations own 90% of all media in America. In our country, the situation is, well, in some cases the same, but why it's different is because the oligarchs own the majority of TV channels, news websites, and online websites as well. So this causes a big problem because we are not sure whether the news that are being broadcasted on these channels and in these newspapers are truly independent and trustworthy, right? So media literacy for Ukraine is particularly important, I think, and especially around the times of elections. We've just had so many election campaigns, and perhaps many of you have witnessed the problem with media literacy in Ukraine. So one of the nice messages that I want you to share with your students is that we have to be critical of the media that we love. So of course, it's easy to criticize the media of our opponents, yeah, but please analyze also the media that you like. So think about the channels or newspapers that you are often reading or watching, and well, try to research information about it. Try to find out who is the owner of the radio station or the TV channel, and think what kind of motivations and what are they trying to persuade you to do, right? So be critical of that. This is another interesting infographics that you are welcome to use with your students. And actually, I would recommend you to make it into a poster and even post it at your school or share it with your friends, because these are like very, very nice ways and methods to analyze any news you're reading, especially when you are not sure to share, not to share, and you just go through all of these steps, yeah, and you can easily detect fake news and not repost it. Another nice resource, and this is now a website, it's called snopes.com. This is a fact-checking site. So sometimes you are, for example, reading some news in English language, and you're not sure, is it true or is it fake? On this site, there is like a search line where you can insert the question, yes, is this story true? And it will give you like an answer. Yes, it will check different resources and it will confirm, yes, this is real or that news is fake. So there are many fact-checking sites. This is just one example, snopes.com. So now another practical task for all of you to practice. So here you have 2 headlines. And number 1 is blue dogs spotted in India. And number 2, polar bears found on Scottish island. So in the chat, please write down, what do you think? Is it true or is it fake? Which one? So number 1, for example, true, number 2, fake, or vice versa. What's your opinion? Which news is true and which one is fake? Please write down in the chat. Okay, I see different ideas, yes. So some of you think number 1 is fake and the second one is true. Some of you think vice versa. So, okay. So just by reading these 2 titles, it's hard to say, right? What is true, what is false? But okay, you need to go through those steps I was talking about earlier, right? For example, the first one actually is true. Yes, if you research it, you'll find that in National Geographic, there was like a post published about this story, and what happened to these dogs. Unfortunately, there was some pollution in the river, and this influenced the dogs. They went inside this water and got this blue color on their skin. The second story, well, you could think it's also true because it was published in the newspaper, serious newspaper called Telegraph. But here the interesting information is that it was published on April 1st. Yeah, so this was actually a joke, published in a serious newspaper, but an April Fool's joke. So you can be careful about that too. In some of maybe our newspapers, we also have political satire, so not all fake news is bad. All right, now I'll try to go back to our presentation. Here it is. So another task for you. Here you have two headlines. Yes, imagine somebody is writing an article about our meeting today, and they just describe what happened today. So one headline would say, more than 20 teachers participated in media literacy webinar, and the second one, fewer than 200 teachers showed up at media literacy webinar. So is this like, are these headlines the same? What do you think? Are they the same or not? If you say more than 20 people attended an event and less than 200 people attended the event, is it the same or not? Not the same, right? Good, I agree, it's not the same. Okay. Just a minute, I'm trying to go back to my presentation, but I mean, the way you use the language, right, is also very important. Of course, both of them are accurate, but not exactly, right? So what do you think would be a neutral headline? If you are writing an article to talk about numbers, how many people attended the seminar today, the webinar, sorry. So what would be the neutral headline? Can you type in the chat box? Anybody? A neutral headline to describe our webinar today about the participants. Can you hear me fine? I don't see any answers in the chat box, so please try to think about this, how to make this headline more neutral and factual. What do you think? The numbers should be exact. All right, you're right. Who was it, Natalia? So the correct answer would be to specify the exact amount. For example, I'm not sure how many participants we have right now, but let's say 35 participants attended media webinar. That would be a neutral and factual title or headline for this article. Another exercise idea for your students is to work with headlines. And here you can see some examples. So you see that you give them the beginning of the sentence and they have to continue writing the headline, but you need to give them the task. Make these headlines neutral and factual, and then discuss it as a group together. Okay, now we come to the questions we need to ask ourselves whenever we are analyzing any sort of media. You can see them on the screen. So whenever you see any media message, you can ask these questions, and that's how you develop your own critical thinking and critical thinking of your students. Let us analyze, for example, this billboard. This is very recent billboard. It was found on the streets of Chicago City in the USA, and it was produced by a company that develops websites. So if you analyze it closely, you can see that, of course, the motivation of people who created it is to make money, right? And they are trying to use different techniques to attract the attention. You can look at all the bright colored pictures of food. You can study the message that it gives. So it appeals to certain emotions, yes, and it gives a certain message that only the companies that have website are real companies, right? And of course, in our times, many companies are digital, right? They have digital platforms, but that doesn't mean that this is the only factor that influences success of a company. So you have to be careful. Yes, you understand that the main motivation here is to make you buy something. You can do the same with any kind of advertising and ask your students to analyze it from different ways. Study the logo even of the company, the slogan, the message you see, the pictures, the colors. It's very, very, very interesting, I think, topic to discuss. Here is an idea I used with my students. You can see the pictures. So I gave them a task to create advertising posters for some interesting, unusual products. And I must tell you, my students mostly were adults, but even adults enjoyed this activity very much. So they would present their poster, and then we would discuss what techniques did they use to persuade us to buy this product. So very, very nice activity. Now I have another picture and another question for you related to media. So what do you think does this picture represent in relation to media? Please type your answer in the chat box. What do you think it means? How can you describe it in one sentence? What message does it give us about media? Okay, I see the first answer. Not everything we see is real. Good. It is all the question of perspective. Very good. Yes. It depends who is an operator, right? And how he shows this. Good. Very, very nice. Historical episode. Yeah. True. Anybody else? Okay, basically you're all right. But the concept I wanted to introduce here is called bias. I'm not sure if all of you are familiar with this term, but it's very important when we speak about media. So some synonyms you can see here is one-sidedness, unfairness, prejudice, right? So this is how our world looks like. It's the same planet, Earth, right? But because we all see it in a different way, yes, we are all biased, we can say. It doesn't mean we are all wrong. It means only that we are looking at it through our own perspective. And why it's important to remember when we think about media is because all media is created by people. And all of these people have their own biases. So when you're reading an article, think about this. Who wrote this article? What do you know about this person? What kind of bias this person may have? All of these questions help you to analyze and better understand the message behind the story you're reading. Okay, now another interesting example. Here you see the picture of one American politician during some election campaign. And can you type in the chat box, what differences do you notice between these two pictures? Is this lady represented in the same way on both pictures or not? So please type your answer in the chat box. What do you notice? What is the difference here? This lady represented on, no answers yet. So was this lady represented in the same way or was it different? What do you think? The answers, the first one was more positive, and there you could see like you can see her at the background of American flag, right? You can also pay attention that she was smiling, yes, looking very nice. And you can also notice some nice captions like the text written below this photo. And on the second one, the camera angle was not so good, yes, and the captions were not so positive. So we can probably tell that one magazine supported this lady as a candidate, another one opposed her as a candidate, right? So bias can be found not only in the text, but also in the pictures. So please always remember this, yes? So, and study it with your students, study this bias and so on. Now is the time when you are welcome to ask some questions if you have. I know it's a lot of information and we are pressed for time today because of this new platform we are using, but I'll be happy to answer any of the questions that I can. So you're welcome to write in the chat. Don't be shy, please ask some questions, and especially something related to English language teaching, how to incorporate maybe media literacy. No questions? Maybe you are all shy, or maybe I'll wait a bit more. Okay, if not, so I will continue. So perhaps the question that interests you a lot is about certificates, right? So all of you, we would like to thank you for attending this webinar, and this is a type of certificate you will receive. So in order to receive a certificate, you need to fill out one short form with your just feedback about the webinar you have just attended. So it will be very useful for us for the future planning of our work. So I encourage you to share your ideas. There will be a question, for example, about topics for next webinars. So it will be very helpful for us if you could write everything there. Okay, so is that clear? Okay, I see some questions. Okay, can you share the slides of your presentation? Yes, I will be happy to send you a PDF file. So whoever wants to have this presentation in PDF format, please send a message to my email address. And I will ask the moderator to write down this address in the chat box now, okay? Or later on, I will share this with you. Okay, there was one more question, let me check. Okay, can you recommend some programs for teachers? I really recommend you to attend online courses. Perhaps many of you have heard about the platform called Coursera. There is a nice course on media literacy there, organized by University of Pennsylvania. So you just go to Coursera. Coursera, does everybody know? I think everybody knows that. And type media literacy in the search box and you'll find it. Or there is a Ukrainian platform, Edera. Perhaps some of you have taken courses there already. There is a very, very recent course on media literacy there, and you are able to get certificates. Very, very nice program, and it's both in Ukrainian and in English. So you can use it for yourselves, for your students, and you can even share it with anybody, actually. I encourage you to share it with your parents as well, because all of us need to be media literate, not just our students, right? Okay. Let me now check. Okay, no more questions. And as I promised, today we have a special gift for all of you. We want to thank you for spending your time with us today. And if you are interested in making any kind of purchase in our online store, you are welcome to do it. So you have a discount of 25% for all orders you make, but be careful, it's valid only for 3 days. So today, tomorrow, and on Monday, you're welcome. Please use the promo code MEDIA for your purchases. You are welcome to call by phone or make an online order. And at this, I believe I can finish my presentation. You can see our website, our Facebook page, my email address, and I will be always happy to answer your questions related to media literacy or English teaching in general. So you're welcome to post any questions, share comments, and please spread this information among your students, among your friends. I think it will be beneficial for all of us. So with this, thank you very much, and see you at our webinars in the future. Bye-bye.